Welcome to Gen Z podcast.
I'm back, motherfuckers. I know you missed me in my mug. Let's go.
Welcome back, Faith, to the
Thank
pod.
you.
She was on
So happy
season
to be
1.
here.
And she has her iconic mug with wine, per usual.
Earl Grey tea.
Earl Grey tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we just say, this is how you know Jen has never touched a drop of alcohol in her life. I get here. She's like, this is fine. Like,
Okay,
it's
so
fine.
I wanted to give my guest something she likes, and she's not going to get lit on Diet Cokes like me. So I was like,
Nobody gets lit on Diet Cokes like you.
So I was like, okay, what alcohol beverage do you want? So I went to the liquor store by my house, and I literally was like, hello. And I showed him the text message that you gave me because I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce that. And then
all of a sudden you're French.
Yeah, I'm like, hello. So then she came over and I was like, how does one take this?
Yeah.
She's like, is it cold? I'm like, no.
It's like, get some ice, please.
Then ice in my mug. Stupid.
It's perfect. And it's a little J for you.
Yes, I love it. Same mug as last time.
Was it?
Yes. So what was our episode called?
Chaotic.
Yeah, it was an
What was it
amazing
called?
episode, season 1.
Grief is something about grief. Dealing with grief.
Probably dealing with grief. But we did have some funny things about like me sending a guy a big
Yeah, that
confetti
episode was
dicks. It
not what people were expecting. You know, you
No,
see,
it
like,
was
ways to
mixed.
deal with grief, and we're like,
also
will you be my pool boy?
also, would you like to be my pool boy?
Mhm.
Okay, so Faith and I do her hair, and she was in the salon this week, and we were laughing so hard. We were like preparing for this episode. So this episode's going to be called Healing After Heartbreak. Both Faith and I have gone through a pretty rough breakup over the last couple years. I feel like this year we were thrown some obstacles, and so we're going to talk about healing after a heartache, after a breakup. But we were like busting up laughing, and I'm like, how the fuck are we going to do an episode that's serious when we are dying laughing? So Faith said the funniest thing to me. I've been calling the streets like scary. Like I'm like, the streets are scary.
It's like a normal thing. Like I heard that the whole time. And I mean,
like I'm not meant for these streets. They're scary. And she goes, nah, bro. The streets are fine. It's the street walkers.
Yes. Because this is a realization I had to come to.
The street walkers.
Yeah. When I was first let back out, after 6 years or so of not having any relation to the streets, you're tipping your toes.
When you got out, when you got
When
outside,
I was released.
When you were released into the wild, and you're like, hello, what is good?
No. So I'm like walking around, and I was like, these streets really aren't bad. And then those motherfuckers come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Those motherfuckers come out of nowhere. And you're like, oh, it's you. It's you guys. You guys are the issues. It's not the streets. The streets are
It's not the streets. I take it back.
Yeah.
It is not the streets that are scary.
No,
it's the street walkers.
Yeah, it's a PSA for everyone.
PSA.
It's the street walkers.
What a vibe it is to break up from a long-term relationship and then just emerge the next day.
Vibe is an interesting word choice for that. Yeah.
What an experience.
Yeah. That's better. It didn't feel like a vibe.
What an experience to be let loose into the wild after a breakup, a long-term breakup. And then you're just like, oh, I be here.
I want to go back.
I want to go back.
I don't want to be out here anymore.
Please,
I'm scared.
I'm not meant for the streets.
No, and I take back everything I said. I don't want to be here. It's terrifying.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I fear I made a mistake. Guys, it's not a mistake.
No, yeah.
It's just the streetwalkers are scary.
Yeah, and you'll learn how to avoid them. It's like in a zombie apocalypse. Like I'm sure when people see the zombie come at them for the first time, they're like, fuck. And then you learn tactics to hide. You know what I mean? You're like, I see you coming, motherfucker. I see you over there.
Stop it. Stop it with your motherfucking Instagram post. Like, you stop it. You get away. You get away right now. You get away. Yeah, no, the street walkers are scary.
Terrifying.
But the sad thing is it takes a while to know when they come in and what to look for.
Yeah.
It takes a bit.
Well, they're really, really skilled. That's the part that's scary. Is like now you can tell little things, right? Because I've been single for a while now, but in the beginning, I'd be like, wow, you're such a good person. And you're like, oh my God. No, you're not at all.
Surprise!
Yeah. Yeah. They're good at hiding it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It takes
scary.
time.
Yeah.
So, okay. So both of us got out of a long-term relationship. Mine was a lot longer than yours, but still yours was very long. And so we wanted to talk about healing after heartache. And there's so many aspects to this. I feel like we talked a lot about losing friendships and losing people and how hard that is.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that people don't really talk about in breakups of any kind,
Mhm.
Is the amount of people that become collateral damage in that, the amount of friendships that fall out because of it or whatever, or the people that you think are by your side through anything. And then
Mhm.
something that the second something serious happens, they're nowhere to be found.
And it's shocking.
Super.
I think I've talked a lot about that on other podcast episodes about how growth, because essentially like a breakup, I mean, you're growing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're letting go, you're shedding that old version of yourself and you're like emerging as something new. And the loss that comes with growth equals loss to me. And I didn't realize that. And how devastating sometimes that is people show their true colors. They're not your truest friends. Also, sometimes they just can't go with you.
Yeah.
When you start to shift your vibration, like it just, they fall off, or you trigger them in some weird way. Like they're uncomfortable, like they can't hang in the hard times. It's only good times.
Yeah. And it's crazy how many people that you look at and you go, oh, I would do anything for you.
Anything.
And that's I think the heartbreaking part of it is looking at these relationships and these people and going, I wouldn't have done that to you. I think that's one of the harder things to accept. But I also think there's something beautiful about being able to look and go, you were here for a season and you played your part in my life. It's hard to accept sometimes because you go, I wanted you to stay for the other seasons, right? But you played your role. And you have to accept that with people of like, maybe that's all you were in my life for.
Yeah.
Was to be that role
in
at that
chapter.
time that I needed then.
Right. Yep.
It's crazy too. I mean, I know you experience it too, of the amount of people that will take breakups or hard situations and whatever and make it about themselves, make it about their relationship, their things, and like, oh, but we just loved you so much and you guys made me believe in love and whatever. It's like, why? You didn't even know our relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I dealt with that a lot actually, of people projecting and stuff and saying, I wish you would do this. I wish you would do this. The amount of shit that I got, I'm like, what? I'm so sorry that I can't give you what you want in my life, in my relationship.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, it's always it's never the people that are sitting with you as you cry. And, those people are never looking at you going, you should do this. It's always the people that are just kind of there, that have observed your relationship for a long time, maybe hung out with you in social situations and whatever, but weren't there to see the darker parts of every relationship. Has dark parts to it. Everyone. There's no relationship that's perfect all the time. But it's always the people that didn't observe any of it that are like, well, you should just do this. This is what you should do.
So much of that.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's wild.
It's weird.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of times I couldn't carry people, I had to manage their emotions about my relationship. And I'm going through the hardest time in my life.
Yeah.
And they want to come at me and say, this is really hard for me.
Isn't that crazy?
What?
Yeah, I know. I think it's also just the amount of people that are just so unaware of all of it. Just so self-centered and unaware of what you could be going through. It's like, well, this is what it's triggering in me.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, my whole life just fell apart.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I don't care what it triggers in you.
What a name.
I don't even know.
I do.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. We could talk about that. Be a girl's girl and don't go after.
Can we just make a PSA? I will say the women are scarier to me than the men. So we're here.
So here's the thing. I truly, truly post breakup have experienced the most juiciest, yummiest platonic girl friendships I've ever experienced. In a season where I did not date, where I did not have male affection or love, I was shown such beautifulness through women. But me and you are girls. So I typically hang out with girls. Right. However, there are some streetwalkers that are of the female
Street dancers, actually.
there are some street dancers that are women that I have always been shocked by their behavior, and they are not girls. And I have been shown over the last couple years that there's a couple girls who, first of all, there's 8 billion people in this world. And I wasn't planning on talking about this, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people in this world. I just find it really interesting that you would go after someone who you're connected with. So I've had a couple girls go after my ex, and I was always really shocked when it happened and disappointed, because to me, I would never do that. I would never do that ever. If you live down the street from me and I know, there was this one time when I matched with this guy when I was on the dating apps, and I quickly put it together that I knew his ex-wife. And I wasn't super close with her, but I knew her.
Yeah.
And I knew that would be not cool. Right. And she wouldn't like it. And I immediately shut it down. And I was like, so sorry, put this together. I know you. And I'm not saying like it's tricky, but I just think it's wild that women will go after your man.
I almost feel like there's a weird level of like, it almost makes the man more appealing that he's in a relationship, that I've noticed from people of like,
that's so
you
interesting.
Guys didn't, it's going to sound mean. I don't mean it mean, but like none of you wanted to go after him when I wasn't dating him. But now that I'm dating him, now it's like, oh, I want that. And I see it not just in my personal situation, but with other people too. And it's the strangest thing ever to me, especially like you're saying, someone that you're so connected to, you know? And
it's too close. It's too close. It's too close.
I mean, there's boys, no, I'm just
Boys,
kidding.
yeah.
Who've, you know, DM'd me and messaged me since I've been broken up and whatever, that I don't even really know their exes, but like I've been in social situations with them. I don't even know their last name really. I don't know them that well, but being in a social situation with you two is enough for me to not respond.
Absolutely.
I don't want anything to do with that.
It's not worth it. It's not worth the drama. It's not worth the contention.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 8 billion people in the world. Like
find someone else.
Find someone else. Find someone else. It's always really upsetting to me. Wow, that turned petty. I'm so sorry. Like I truly have been trying to, live in I saw something, the best revenge is no revenge. It is truly silent sometimes. I will talk about it one day, but there is power in silence, and there's power because it just poisons you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things I've had to learn this year is the power of silence. Because I think so many times, like just as human beings, we've talked about this, like we take things so personally, right? You do something to me and I go, Jen, how could you do that to me?
Yeah.
How could you do that to me?
Yeah.
And it's hard to acknowledge the fact that you did that to me because of your own battles with yourself.
Correct.
You did that because of what you're going through. And I think a lot of times, like, you know, there's been a lot that's happened in your life and my life, whatever. A lot of times you want to sit there and go like, fuck you. How could you do that to me? I would have never done you like that. I would have never put you in that situation. I would have never, whatever. And it's all ego driven and you're hurt and your emotions are heightened and you want to yell, you want to do this. And I think the best lesson I've learned this year is silence. Yeah. And is going, you won't get that from me. You won't get it. Whether it's a friend who's done things they shouldn't done, whether it's an ex who's put you in situations they shouldn't put you in, you won't get that from me. I won't be the one screaming at you, giving you that, because 6 months, a year, 2 years removed, when I'm healed from this, I'm going to regret doing that. You know? Exactly. I'm never going to regret being quiet.
No. And it truly is, as much as I think there is something like, man, the power of a woman that's angry, right? Hear me roar. But also there's power in silence and there's dignity in it. And but it's tough. It's tough to sit silent and let people shit on you and do bad things to you.
Exactly.
And be silent about it.
And there's levels. I feel like still set your boundaries. That's where I've learned. Is it's like, I will never sit back and just be like, oh, so mean. Everyone's so mean. No. But if I see you out, I'm not going to come up and be crazy to you. But if you come up to me, I will bet you any amount of money I'm not going to be kind, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
No,
that's a boundary
exactly.
for myself that I'm setting with you. I'm not going to go on social media and blast people and be
No.
mean and do, you know what I mean? No. But if you're put in a situation where your back's against the wall, of course, I'll stand up for
Of
myself.
course.
But I think it's finding those boundaries with people of like, you don't even deserve that from me. Because also, if you're capable of doing the things you did,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even going to register. I'm
Right.
going to waste my breath yelling at you, telling you that was wrong.
Right. Exactly.
If you don't see that that was wrong, there's no conversation to be had.
Truly.
You know?
Truly. And it's just an emotional intelligence that they
Yeah.
lack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Faith and I have unfortunately witnessed these hoes ain't loyal.
Ain't nobody loyal, girl.
Oh,
None of them.
it's tough being girls and being disappointed by women. I will say for the majority, though, I have felt the most beautiful girlfriend friendships.
Yeah.
In my personal experience in the last couple of years, but there has been some times where I've just been absolutely shocked by the behavior of women. And it it's disappointing and it's hurtful. And but I think it goes back to not they're just thirsty, man. And it's like not even content with themselves.
Exactly.
Like for you to go out and do that is just wild to me when you can't drive 30 minutes to, across town and find yourself a man.
Right.
Like you got to come down the street.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I guess it's easier. You save gas. Whatever.
Gas expensive.
It is actually.
No,
never mind.
I feel like it's also interesting because the city out here, I think since I've been single, I've tried to travel more and just meet different people, see different places, whatever. I mean, I've always loved that, but especially in the last couple months of my life. And it's interesting to see how this city makes everything feel so accessible. Makes me feel like, everything's so normalized here. Cheating, all of it.
Yeah, we live in Vegas,
normalized.
which is a very weird city. It's a really bad city to date in, to be quite honest.
Horrible. And you see these people do things, and I genuinely think a lot of people don't realize how fucked up it was, or maybe would realize it if they were somewhere else. Like if I lived in fucking Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd deal with this fucking shit. I can deal with other stuff that I don't want to deal with, but
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, about you going out of town. So I don't know if you felt this, but when I got divorced, I felt like I died. And there was a part of me in this town, a huge part of me that died. And so for me to be here in this town as this new version, when my old version died, it's been extremely difficult and hard. And so I have been living other places. I have been traveling because it's like my soul, that version of me died here. And so it's like, I got to get out. Like I need to explore. And I think, did you feel that way? Like, is that why you've been getting out and traveling?
100%. I think it's something that people don't talk about with breakups and separations of any kind is when you've been with someone for a long time, you build a life with them. You have your friends are integrated together, your lifestyle's integrated together, your daily life is them.
Yep.
And so when you leave that and you decide, okay, this isn't for me anymore, you leave a lot, you lose a lot. And for me, I mean, I lost everything that was my current life, whether that was friends, house we were at, the things, everything was changed and was different, right? And you get to this point where it's very lonely.
So lonely.
You sit there and you go, oh, did I make the wrong decision? Because this doesn't feel right. I also think no one talks about how lonely and low it feels to be the one that makes the decision.
Yeah.
When you're the one that chooses to leave, everyone is kind of like, well, you did that. You chose to leave.
Yeah.
So why are you like, you can't complain. You're the one who broke it off. And I think there's levels of like, did I make the wrong decision? Did I make the right decision? What is this? What is that? And when you're losing people that were kind of your foundation, it's a very, very lonely place to be. And then when you rebuild from that, you do feel like, I feel like a completely different person than I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And it's strange almost sometimes to interact with people that I haven't spoken with in a while since that.
And you're just so different.
You, like, you don't even know me.
No.
Like I'm a totally different person from when you and I were friends.
I know.
So 100%, that's part of the reason why I was like, I have to get out of here. I have to go meet other people, create a new life for
Right.
myself that I enjoy and I
Right.
feel safe in.
Yeah.
You know?
And I talk a lot about like losing people, like people can't meet you where you're at. But I also, let's talk about like the old version of you that exists when you see people out that only know the old version of you. I like want to run because it's like, what do I say to you? All you know is that side that represented a good chapter, but also a painful chapter for me. So it's like, what do I say to you? You know,
Yeah.
like there's nothing that I can say.
There's also some people that don't deserve anything said. And that I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to people. There's people who've played roles in my life that I'll be forever grateful for. But when things got hard, you weren't there.
Yeah.
So when I see you out and you're trying to talk and
you
be
don't
normal
get the
and this
good
and that,
version.
no. And I
You
think
weren't there for the
there's
hard.
something to be said for like, I don't feel bad for people being upset anymore. I really don't fucking care. And that might sound mean,
No.
but I do not care, because if you're not sad, then I'm the one who's broken by the lack of boundaries I've put up with you. If you're not upset by what I'm doing, because every time you push, yeah, you're a bitch. And people are like, oh, you know, whatever. But if I'm not a bitch, I get walked all over.
Absolutely.
You
I know.
And then I'm left with being upset with myself for being like, oh, I should have put a boundary up with that person.
Right.
I'm just not doing that anymore.
Right.
I'm just not doing it.
I love that. And I think when going back to when you were talking about the lonely, so I want to do an episode called Single is the Stage. And I tried to record it, and I'm going to be pretty transparent, and Faith knows what's going on. I've had a really hard year. Actually, Faith witnessed it firsthand, but I've had a really, really difficult year. It's funny, I've been, divorced for a couple years now, but I really feel like this year was the cherry on the top of all of it. And we really struggled. And there were just things that were done that were quite honestly not right or fair. And I wanted to do an episode on how being single is the stage and not the waiting room, and how we so much treat this stage like we break up, we treat it like this waiting room, and then we can't wait to be in another relationship.
Yeah.
And how we can make it sacred and this beautiful experience. But I do think, and how amazing it is to be single truly, and it is the stage. It's quite honestly one of the most important stages to find yourself. But in that stage is a deep loneliness and grief. And I don't think people talk about that a lot. And so I've been wanting to do this episode, but to be transparent, I've just been, I don't have the medicine yet. I feel like I've been pushed to a place where I've been struggling with loneliness and grief. And so I'm not there yet, even though I know like this is such a beautiful stage, like explore, find yourself, but there is a deep loneliness, and it's not something that you can bypass.
No.
You cannot bypass it. You have to sit in it. You have to sit in it. And it could be years. It could be months. Like for you, you're like, I finally feel so good after a year. I will say, I'm still dealing with stuff, and it's been years, like I'm still feeling like, damn, am I going to always be broken? Am I always going to feel grief, or will grief always be there and I'll just learn to like deal with it,
Yeah.
But there is it's lonely. There's a portion of that chapter that you can't bypass it.
No.
You have to sit in it to get through
I think
it.
that's the thing that like we were saying earlier, like people don't talk about enough, which is to get to a place. Everyone talks about self-love and showing up for yourself and this and that and whatever, but it's interesting. I mean, for me, it was such a mind fuck to see how many people, when I was first deliberating on leaving the relationship or not, and how many people were like, do what makes you happy. You do it. Like, if that's what's going to make you happy, do it. Then you do it. And there's so many people that are like, oh, I don't know why you did that. Like, this is so uncomfortable for all of us. And now we're all in a bad position and whatever, and I had to get to a point where I was just like, I want to be happy. I'm not happy, and I want to be happy. Life is too short to be here and not be happy. And that loneliness, it's a dark place. It is a dark, dark place. And I think when you've experienced it, it's why I'm kind of at a point now where I'm not settling. And that can mean anything that can mean friendships, relationships, whatever. If you don't see value in having access to my life, you won't be in it.
No.
And
Bye. Yeah.
because I've worked too hard
Yep.
to be where I am right now.
Mhm.
I've worked too hard to get there. So if
Yep.
you can't value that, you won't be a part of it.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah.
Self-love is funny. They always say self-love, self-love is when you're literally accepting, I don't know how I can go on.
No.
Like self-love is loving yourself in the darkest period of your life.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I had a therapist tell me that I have toxic positivity.
What the fuck is that?
And I was like, what? And she basically said, because during this period of time, I was so low that I was doing anything I could try to do. I would wake up, I would do gratitude lists. I'd be like, okay, there's so much to be thankful for, but I'm dealing with this painful breakup. And so I do my gratitude list. I do my walks in the sun. Whatever. And she was like, you have toxic positivity. I'm like, what the hell is that? And she's basically saying like, you feel so lonely, so sad, so broken, so upset by the things that have happened to you that you refuse to talk about them. And I agreed with her. I was so low, at such a low vibration. I was doing anything I could to raise my vibration because I was so afraid of attracting more of that. Because, your vibration attracts, but there is a portion of it where she was like, can you just sit and write in your journal and be like fucking pissed and write all the things down and be lonely and say it out loud? Like, I am struggling. I am not well. Like, I'm having a hard time. And she was like, that's what loving yourself is. That's what self-acceptance is.
Yeah.
Is sometimes you're trying so hard to like make it like, I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be okay. Like, I love my bed. She was like, no, like life fucking sucks right now.
Yeah.
And can you just be okay with that?
Well, and isn't it interesting, the dichotomy between like when you think about your best friend in the world and you think about them and your love for them and how I love the good times with them. And when they need me, I'm fucking there.
Yeah.
But when it's us, when it's yourself, those hard times we like to run from. Like, it's like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. It's like, why am I showing that love for other people in my life, but I can't give it to me?
Right.
Because if something bad happens in someone that I love's life, somebody I care about, I'm at their doorstep there. Yeah. So if I can do that for the other people important to me, why am I lesser than that? Mm-hmm. Why do I consider myself on a scale under them?
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing to realize. And I think a lot of times, like, there's so many questions about, like, I think you experienced it with, your breakup and whatever, of like, they're such a good person though.
True.
They're such a good person.
Yeah.
That's true. Nobody's negating that. But I think there's something to be said for being able to notice the difference between, I can look at my partner and see them as somebody who is so loving, so charismatic, so funny, so magnetic, whatever. But if they make me feel anxious, lonely, unhappy, that is the reality of my relationship. So regardless of how I see them, it's being able to separate that, how I view you versus how you make me feel.
Right.
Right. And it's not to negate anyone as a human being.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest kind of breakup, is when your soul knows it's time to go.
Yeah.
But nothing really, like, it's so tough. Like you were saying, people are like, but you chose this. Yeah. It's still horrible.
It was a hard
You're
decision.
still mourning the death of the reality that you planned on, your future. Yeah. Like, it was right then and then it wasn't. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be brutally painful to get through. I think it's almost even more painful to like let go of someone and being like emotionally aware, to be like, this isn't it for forever. No. This is for a season. And that's also something like friendships, we can easily, people just understand, like, friendships come and go, they're for seasons, but yet they judge you so harshly for a relationship. Yeah. But relationships are seasons too.
Yes.
Some are forever and some are for seasons. Yeah. And I deeply feel like that my partner was for that chapter in my life.
100%.
But he's not supposed to go with me on the next chapter. Yeah. Still sucks.
Yeah.
It's still horrible. I'm still grieving the loss of everything that I have ever known.
Right.
How do you feel like, how did you get through your breakup? Because I feel like if someone asked me, like, how do you heal from heartache? I'd be like, time. I don't know, time and sitting in it and feeling it. For me, it's just been time. Like you can't fast track it or bypass it.
Mhm.
And it can take us, because I'm like, damn, it's been like 2.5 years. Why do I still feel grief? And it's like, you might carry that for a while. Like,
Yeah.
so what do you think? Like if someone asked you, how do you heal from a breakup?
I mean, time, obviously, I agree with that. I think it's also just being able to set boundaries with everyone. Like, I have always been someone that shows up for everyone in my life. And I think one of the hardest parts about this season and getting through it and whatever was acknowledging the fact that I can't answer your phone call right now.
Yeah.
I can't show up for you right
Yeah.
now because I need to show up for me.
Wow.
And I need to find a place for me.
Yeah.
You know? And if you love me and you see what's going on and you've been around in my life, you will understand.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand, you're not meant to go into the next chapter of my
Absolutely.
life with me. And that, you know, I'm somebody who struggles a lot with losing people I love. It's something when I love
me
someone,
too. I feel like
hold on.
Well, it's
you
the
know?
detachment of letting people go, like
Yeah.
stop trying to control them. But I cling on to things so
I do.
deeply, and I love so
Yeah.
deeply and hard that it's devastating every single time.
Yeah. And I think there's something beautiful in being able to say, if you love me, you'll want me to show up for myself. You'll want me to be happy. And I kind of had to reevaluate everything. I mean, my life now, I like laugh about it a little because it's so different from where I was a year ago. And where I thought I would be at this point is completely different. Right. And you look at it and there's a beauty in that, but there's also a lot of emotions that come with that. There's a lot of people I thought would be sitting next to me right now that just aren't. And you know what? It's okay.
It's okay. Doesn't make it easy.
No.
Doesn't make it easy. And
No.
that might require a period of mourning, to be honest. But to let people choose and to let people go and to just let them and detach yourself from trying. If you're here, you're here.
It's personal to me because it's my emotions, but it's not personal.
Right.
You're doing that off of your own shit. So that's been one of the hardest lessons for me to learn is going, that's you. That's not me. That's you. Keep it over there.
I struggle with like wanting to be liked. And I feel like the more you step into boundaries, the less that you are liked. And I've really struggled with that this year. I'm like, wow, I actually think that people don't like me.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
Yeah.
I've always been someone who's so charismatic with people and loves people, and I love for people to love me, you know? And I think it's been that's been one of the hardest parts about it is seeing, you know, people say, the funniest thing that I've heard multiple times this year is like, you've changed.
You're like,
isn't that the point of life?
Well, I'm always shocked. And it's like, I want to say, you're supposed to.
Yeah. Also, I would be concerned if all of this had gone on and I was the exact same person.
Right.
I would be concerned, you know? And I think it's interesting to see how, like, when you make a decision, when you go, I want to do this, it comes with a lot of hard shit and it comes with all this stuff.
Yeah.
But there has been an underlying level of peace in my life through all of it.
Wow.
That I was like, this is the right path. I don't know why the fuck I'm on this path. All these streetwalkers coming in between and these crazy motherfuckers all around me. But I feel like I'm supposed to be here. Yeah. You know? And
that's the unknown. And it's the scariest place to be, but also the most exciting.
And the most beautiful.
And I feel like where the most growth comes with just unknown is like just kind of sitting and like going with the wind. Like my intuition tells me I should go there. I'm going to go there. But not seeing, like you feel that you're supposed to do something.
But it doesn't look like it at all.
It doesn't look like it. And you have to be solid in that decision and be like, this is okay. Everything is life works in my favor. It truly does.
It does. Yeah.
But let's be real. Like that comes with a bunch of shit and hard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I get so caught up in it, just as everyone does, of like when you've been hurt, you get so scared of getting hurt again. I get so scared of like, what is your intention with me? What are you doing? This and that, whatever. And I feel like if you just sit back and observe people, you're going to see it. Yeah. People show you who they are. You just get so caught up in going
and take them at face value.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe them the first.
Believe them the first. These streetwalkers be lying. Yeah.
And I feel like if you just sit there and watch, they'll show you. We get so caught up in being like, hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me, talk. This is who I am. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Just shut up. No one cares.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Really though, no one cares.
No.
Like sit back and watch. You'll see the type of person they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't really know. I think it's going through it and seeing, oh, okay, like I'm not proud of every decision I've made in the last year. I'm not, if when I think back on it, I go, could have done that differently.
Of course.
Should have put that up there. Should have done that differently. But in the
that's
moment,
learning.
that's what I felt like was right.
Mhm.
So that's what I did.
Yep.
And that is what it is.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. I feel like you've got such a good head on your shoulders. Like you're doing so good.
No, I'm actually like mentally ill.
Oh, perfect. I mean, I am too. Whatever.
Actually, like not good.
Not good. Yeah. I'm like, no, like, yeah, no, for sure. But
No.
like you make it seem good.
Thank you. No, I'm kidding. I think it's just I've seen a lot of people do a lot of things, and I think you sit there and go, I could be hurt by that, or I could go, now I see that sign. And honestly, and I mean this full genuine when I say this, for every fucked up thing that happened to me, I'm so thankful for it, because there's things I noticed in every single person that did anything throughout my entire life.
Yeah.
Not just last year, but my entire life, that I went, I'll notice that in the next one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So did it suck when it happened? Sure. Was I like, why the fuck did you do that? Of course. But now when I see that trait in someone else, I'm going to go, please stay over there.
Yeah.
Don't come, because I've seen that before.
Mhm.
And I'm very thankful for that.
Right.
You know, because now I won't experience that again.
Right.
I won't go through that again.
Well, and that's such a good perspective too, because I feel like these streetwalkers can make you really jaded.
We're not just talking about men when we say streetwalkers.
Oh, I'm pretty
This
sure they
is
got
just
the
all
impression
who
that
inhabit the streets.
women too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Women
Just wanna make that clear. We're not
dancers. Yeah. No. But to not be jaded
It's hard.
and to not be angry and not to let the hard shit damper you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think too, I've seen a lot of in talking to people and seeing how people date and whatever. It's funny because, like, you know, when they first let me back out, and I was like,
They let you back out
No,
when we got out.
But you probably relate to this when you haven't been single in a long time and you're talking to people. I'm like, well, does one speak? Like, I don't know.
No,
how to talk
facts.
to you.
The first year I was like, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a man?
What does that mean?
Well, I was joking. Like I interviewed Benny in New York, and he's the best, and he's a dating coach, and he always does like eye contact, ladies, like smile, eye contact.
I'm so big on eye contact. If you
You
can't
are?
look me in my eyes, I'll never go out with you
I'm
again.
so sorry, but like when you're first let out in the streets and a man looks at you, do you actually think that I know how to smile and look at you in the
You're
eyes?
like-
I'm like this. I'm like, hello? Hello?
See, but I've always said since I was little, if you can't look me in my eyes when you talk to me, something's wrong. Like, I think you can learn so much about somebody by their eye contact when you're speaking to them, and just in any situation. It's something I've been big on since I was little. So,
Yeah.
especially meeting new people and whatever. I mean, I've had some weird instances, but one thing I've really noticed is I feel like there's a lot of people that confuse dating for purpose and dating for pleasure. And I think people will look and go, I just love being around you, and we have so much fun together, and this and that, whatever, let's date. But that stuff wears off.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? The full face of makeup and the nice outfits to go to dinner. She'll be in a fucking onesie on your couch at some point with no makeup on, eating a bag of chips. And where is it? You know?
Yeah.
And I think when there's no purpose to date anyone, when there's no like, this is what I want from this,
Mhm.
it wears off very quickly with
Right.
people. And then they go, I don't know what happened. It's like, well, you probably shouldn't have dated that person in the first place.
Right.
You know? But you were caught up in the other stuff. That's
I think
so
too,
normal
part
in
of
the
like
city.
a breakup is really beneficial too, because also, side note, I actually think you get hotter after a breakup. And I will
Nobody wants to
say,
talk
I'm
about
just going to
that.
say, whoever gets hotter,
You were not the problem.
you can safely assume that they were not the problem.
I've always said, if you look at
No, you don't need, no explanation needed. Always get hotter after a breakup. I personally believe that you get hotter after a breakup. And especially if you're not the one that did shady shit, you get hotter.
everyone goes through that point in a breakup. Everyone, even the one who did shady shit, where you're like, I'm single, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this and that, whatever.
Yeah.
So like the first few months of a breakup, right? Both look good.
Absolutely.
Both are working on themselves, whatever. It's like a year after.
Okay.
You see? Because there's one that still has like a glow about them because they're like, that was a good decision.
Yeah.
And then there's the other that you go, problem.
Yeah.
There it was. It was you.
Okay. So we'll go back to my original point before I got on that tangent of
Jesus
glow up.
Christ, our ADHD is not good for.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I do think like after there has to be a healing period of time where you take accountability and your part in it as well.
100%.
And if you just jump straight into something else, I feel like the same problems are just wrapped in a different package. If you don't sit in here, heal your shit, it just looks different. It's going to be the same thing. You have to go through that. And like, you have to sit in it and be like, all right, what did I do to contribute to this? How can I be a better person? And quite frankly, if I want to attract the partner of my dreams, I sure as hell need to be that partner.
Yeah.
Like I have to do the work to attract that.
100%. I think that's one of the things that people don't ever talk about is the part that you played, you know, because everyone, if you talk to me, if you talk to people I've dated, if you talk to you, if you talk to people you've dated, everyone's going to have their story. Everyone's going to have their point of view and whatever. And I think that is one of the hardest things to acknowledge of like, I had my shit too.
Of course.
I know there was shit I could have done better and there's stuff I will do better in the future.
Of course.
Right.
And even if you're not the one that did the most wrongs,
we sure
wrongs. As hell did wrongs. Yeah. And like 100%. How can I take accountability for that relationship? And like, what did I do that I could have done better?
Yeah.
And you have to go through that. And if you don't, I think you'll just get in the same situation.
Yeah. And I think for me, there was just so many years of my life that I didn't show up for myself. There was so much emotion and things that I don't think anyone ever said to me in terms of like, I think relationships are just so glamorized and like, oh, once you've been together for a long time, you guys are so cute. You guys are so this, you're so that. And you go, this is what people want. Since we're young, you want a good relationship that leads to a good marriage, that leads to a happy family and a beautiful house. That's what you're told all the time. And so I think when you have a relationship that's good and it's not bad, it's not abusive, it's not anything like that, but you aren't happy,
it's run its course.
There's a level of, wait, why? This is what everyone has told me my whole life I want. And this is what I need. And I think for me, in all of it, observing now from being able to kind of like step back and look at all of it, there was so many moments of just not showing up for myself that I will never allow to happen again. You know, and that's what I mean when I say like, I'm not settling, and all of that is what everyone hears. And we've all heard the saying of like, you know, people treat you how they feel about you. But I feel like how you allow people to treat you shows how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
People are always going to treat you however they want.
Yeah.
You know, I could sit here with you today and you could go fuck me over tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to do whatever they want to do. But if I allow you then back in my life and I allow you to sit with me every day and be around me, that shows how I feel about myself. You know?
Absolutely.
So, and it's only you at the end of the day. When you're laying in bed at night, it's you.
That is,
no matter who's next to you.
That is the thing too. And I feel like dating actually is a solo sport, even though it feels like a team sport. And you have to be so clear in like who you are as a person. And that requires time alone. And that's what I mean by like being single is the stage. I think it's the most important stage. It's just, there's elements of that stage. There's exploration, there's like fun, adventure. There's also shit, and it's dark sometimes, and it's lonely, and it's self-acceptance through every stage of that. I think, and giving yourself grace, but it's always going to be you at the end of the day. Always. Always.
I think it's hard too to look at and you go like, is that a red flag in you or me? I think that's one of the most difficult things for me since being single is seeing elements of people and being like, I don't like that. Is that you or me?
No, but like, yeah.
You know, like, is that something that
is this something wrong with us?
Yeah.
Or is it something?
Because is it some unhealed things in me that you're just triggering?
I had to 100%.
Or is it actually something that I should look at and go, ooh, don't like that about you.
Well, I think the first thing to do truly is to step back and ask yourself, like, is this me? That's the first thing, because it might be.
A lot of times it is.
It is. It might be.
Yeah.
It might be our insecurities, our projections, like everything.
Yeah. And I think being able to get to a place, which is one of the things that when I say like I'm happy with where I'm at now and whatever, I think it's the first time in my life I'm genuinely at a point where I'm like, if you leave, you leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you love someone, it's really hard to get to that point with people of like, you know, if you look at me and tell me I want more, go find it. If you think someone else can give you more, or you think there's more out there for you, go find it. Does it hurt? Yeah, everything hurts.
Yeah.
That's part of life.
That's part of life. Yeah.
And I want the people around me to want to be around me and not want anything else, you know, whether that's friendships, relationships, not just significant others, you know,
absolutely,
everybody in my life. And if you feel there's something else out there, go find that, because I've been there.
I know.
And I want you to find that.
I think there's such freedom in detachment. And I feel like you're in such a beautiful state of detachment. You're so steady and like, you just, no, I can feel it. Like you're just solid. It's like, okay, like I'm solid in myself. So you either stay or you go.
I like having you here.
But
if you don't want to be here, go.
Go. Yeah. And if I'm not giving you what you need, whether it's be as a romantic partner or a friendship, like, like it's okay. Like I want to, but if I can't, then go.
Yeah. Because I think there's beauty in all of it. Like there's been some questionable circumstances we both found ourselves in that I go, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what?
You know?
That was a plot twist.
Yeah, didn't expect that one.
Oopsies.
But there's beauty in every single part of it. And there's people that I've met and been like, oh, I think you're this person, and they aren't that person or whatever. But I look at it and I go, okay, cool. I love all of it. And I think looking back, there's so much heartbreak and so much sadness and so much loneliness. And I think those feelings pop up still. I don't think that goes away when someone's been in your life for so long. You'll have memories and you'll go, and you'll grieve that memory, and then you move on.
I think that's important to note, that I don't think healing, you're ever healed. And I don't think grief, it just gets smaller. But I don't think it's there. And I think, I don't think it ever is going to go away, is what I mean. Like it'll diminish a little bit, but I think there'll be things that pop up in your life and you're like, damn, like that's hard. And I think just honoring that and making it sacred, like, like
I heard this saying that, this guy was talking about grief in general, whether it's breakups, death, whatever it is. And he was like, grief is very similar to a very heavy rock. If you put a heavy rock in your pocket and you walk up and down a street all day long, when you first are walking with that rock, it's very fucking heavy. And then you get to a point where it's lighter. It's never gone.
Right.
It's never completely off of you and you're like, okay, the weight's lifted.
Yeah.
It's just lighter and it's easier to walk up and down.
Yeah.
And to me, that was such a perfect way of saying it, whether it's a death or a death of a relationship or whatever it is. It will always be there. When someone's been in your life for a long time, they're always going to be a part of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, you know? And I think it's allowing yourself the grace to feel that in those
And you
moments.
should feel it.
Yeah.
And just know that it's temporary too.
Yeah.
Like you will get through it. It might take a long time. And also stop setting like parameters. Like for me, I really struggled. I'm like, damn, I'm 2.5 years out. No, it's going to take however long it's going to take.
It might be 10.
Yeah. But you, like I set these things like, oh, I should be done. You know, no, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. You know, there's no time.
No.
So if someone came to you while we wrap up, your one piece of advice going through a breakup, I feel like you'd say boundaries, but I want you to answer.
I think just listen to yourself. I think you get caught up in I'm lonely and I want to be loved. And so we've all found ourselves in situations with people where you're like, my body's telling me I shouldn't be here, whether that's mentally or not, but I want to be loved. So I'm going to sit with you and I'm going to hang out with you and I'm going to do this, whether it's friendships or relationships. I don't just mean partners. And I think there's a beauty in figuring out how to really listen to yourself. There's people that I have let go that I didn't know why I was letting go of, that I let them out of my life and there was no real concrete reason other than like when I was around them, I knew I shouldn't have been.
Right.
And I wanted that validation. I wanted to be with them, but I knew I shouldn't have been around them. And looking back now, I completely see why I did that, you know? And I think it's just really sit with yourself in it and feel it. Don't go out and party if you want to go party your face off and do your thing,
it's numbing
have your
it.
season, but you'll never get through it. You'll wake up
Nope.
5 years down the line and that shit is still there. It doesn't go away. If you distract yourself, you can. I've seen people do it for years and years and years.
You just prolong your healing, to be quite honest, because it will come for you.
Yeah.
It will come for you.
I'm not at all sitting here saying like, oh, you just deal with it for a little bit and it'll be gone. No, there was so many moments of sitting just crying on my floor and like, what am I doing? I fucked my whole life up. I fucked everything up and just lost. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what the end destination is. You don't know what's going on. And I think in those moments, it's sitting and just showing up for you.
Yep.
Like whatever that looks like for you, show up for you and stick to it. Because now I genuinely feel like the people in my life are people that should be there.
Yeah.
And everyone else has kind of removed themselves or I've removed them. But you know what I mean?
Well, and I just want to end with this, like to piggyback off what you were saying. Of course, life is about connection. Truly, truly, truly. Like, of course we want to be with a partner through life. Of course we want to have deep friendships. But when I notice that, like, I want to be loved, like what you were saying is like hanging out with someone just because you want to be loved. If you could shift that perspective and just realize like, you're just yearning for love and you need to give that to yourself.
Yeah.
And so every time I'm like, oh, I just want that guy to like me. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Are you, what about you or do you feel lacking?
Yeah.
And then you have to give that back to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, and being single and healing from a breakup requires probably the most love.
I also think it's really carefully curating who you are surrounded by.
Absolutely.
If you're surrounded by people that are telling you, go, play into these vices, go do this, go do that, you're prolonging your healing. But it doesn't matter how long they've been in your life. I have friends that were in my life for a very, very long time. And this happened. And the effect they were having on my life was not healthy.
Yeah.
I still love them dearly, but I had to rearrange the access they had to me in that time because your advice is not helpful.
No.
Right. And you're going to put me in a spot that's not helpful.
No, it's just literally it's prolonging your healing. You have to sit in it.
And be private. I think when you're alone and you're lonely, you want someone to show up for you. And it's those moments of like, show up for yourself. That's one thing I'm so happy I did through all of this was there's so many people I've talked to that have been like, dude, I haven't heard from you in months and months. I didn't know where you were. I didn't know if you still lived out here, whatever. And that was very purposeful for me of like, the people who know me will know where I'm at. They'll know what I'm going through. Everyone else will not.
And just shut the noise out.
Yeah. Yeah. Find your vices, find their healthy vices that help you get through it and figure out what you need, Yeah. Now I know what I need. So now when I meet someone, I go, this is what I want. You either meet me here or you don't meet
and
me.
it's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah.
And it's okay. Yeah.
Because somebody will.
I love that. Oh, Faith, you're a queen. You're a goddess.
You're a queen.
I hope we don't have to edit too much out of this episode, but I feel
only
like we
my 450 curse words that I dropped.
Oh no, those are great. I love those.
I'm like, if only she didn't have a sailor's mouth.
No, I love the F word. It makes me really happy.
Me too. It brings me a sense of serotonin that is just unmatched.
Who knew?
Yeah.
F word, spray tan, hair extensions.
Unfuckwithable.
Literally.
Yeah.
The ego is insane.
Say something to me.
Say something. Say something. Come at me, bro.
Freshly done. I'm tanned and I'm cursing.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
I love you. I love you so much. Thanks for coming on the pod.